My name is Steve Prendergast, and this is my story. After high school, my mother remarried, so I was raised by a single mom from the day I was born, and she raised me to know the Lord, and we were very church-going, and I was a very passionate follower of Christ up until I was about 16. I just started to drift with one foot in the church and one foot in the world. I ended up becoming a very, very strong atheist, where I actually mocked people, friends of mine, for their faith. I was 16 when I started binge drinking, heavy drinking, like power drinking. And that eventually led to midweek drinking and drugs. I started with marijuana and hashish and marijuana oil, and that led me to LSD. I did LSD quite regularly in my late teens, and then cocaine and mescaline entered, and then mushrooms, and you name it, whatever was on the table, basically, I would at least try. My first suicide attempt actually was about the age of 21, and I took a bottle of sleeping pills and woke up 4 hours late for work the next day, and I was like, what happened? I wasn't supposed to wake up at all. It was crazy. You know, I raised two beautiful daughters in a lifestyle where mom and dad were fueled by drugs and alcohol. And yet we thought it was normal, because I was functioning for a long time, right? I would work every day and pay my bills, and you know, eventually I became a drug dealer, so I was selling drugs on the side. So financially, I had all the money in the world to play with in that way, and then cocaine took its toll on me. A friend of mine got out of prison, and we kind of had a welcome home party at my house, and I made sure there was lots of cocaine there, and we're snorting rails of cocaine, and he was an injection user, and he just said to me, it ain't real until you feel the steel. So I said, let me try it. And I tried it that one time, and that changed the course of my life. And I introduced that lifestyle to the mother of my children, and within 6 months, our relationship was destroyed, my home was destroyed, and it began a downward spiral. I had fought hard to get my life back after the relationship with my daughter's mother was destroyed. I ended up getting engaged to another lady, and by age 30, you know, I had a paid-for house. Everything you think that you would want materialistically, I had it. After having too much to drink, I left a friend's home against their wishes to go and pick up cocaine, and I collided with a car on my Harley Davidson, and they had to amputate my leg. And that began the real dark time in my life. All of a sudden you have insurance money from dismemberment insurance. All of a sudden I have over $200,000 in the bank. Well, that certainly makes it real easy to bury yourself. Another relationship was destroyed. I mean, my addiction cost me so much, and I'd ran out of veins that I couldn't puncture with needles anymore, so I turned to crack, and all of a sudden I became a crack addict. Drinking and drugs heavily, 20 years. 20 years. I was 36 when I entered the Teen Challenge program. Teen Challenge, a 12-month residential faith-based drug and alcohol treatment program. When I entered Teen Challenge, I was a pretty angry, bitter, and broken man. And I actually thought I would fail a drug test and go home, and that didn't happen. And here I found myself in a 12-month residential drug and alcohol treatment program that was faith-based. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And you know something? God had to tear me down. He had to destroy me before he could rebuild me. The first sermon I heard in Teen Challenge was, God will reimburse you for your lost years with interest. And that has stuck with me, and that punched a hole through this atheist heart who was this heart of stone, was just being melted. It was just being melted by God. When I'm looking at all these other guys in the Teen Challenge program, and they had this joy resonating inside them that I couldn't find through the poke of a needle or at the end of a crack pipe or at the bottom of a bottle. These guys had this joy resonating inside them, and it was Jesus, right? And so I made that decision. I said, you know what, God, I have tried and tried to deny you. I have tried to do this on my own over and over again, and I can't do it. So please come back into my life. And that's when I rededicated my life to him. I ended up going to Emmanuel Bible College in Kitchener. I met my wife there. She walked into class one day, and the Lord told me that there's your wife. We ended up getting married on December 20th in 2014, and we now have a 2.5-year-old son. His name is Cullen, and he's a beautiful little boy. And we both graduated Emmanuel in April of 2017. So I have a bachelor's degree in youth ministry and counseling now. I had a mother and an aunt, my late Aunt Linda, who never gave up on me for over 20 years. They prayed for me that I would come back to the Lord. They prayed for me that I would get out of the disastrous lifestyle that I was living. So I just want to say to those mothers, those grandmothers, those fathers out there, never give up. Never give up on the power of prayer. There is hope out there.